Hello guys, welcome back to this series on C programming. In this video, we will learn together how to work with array with the help of examples. So, what is an array? An array is a variable that can store multiple values. So, it's just a variable in which we can store multiple values, not just one value as we used to do, but multiple value. For example, here if you want to store 100 integer, you can create an array of integer, but the type of the value inside the array must be the same. For example, here we have 100 integer or 100 float or 100 char. Here, for example, we have our array. For each array there is a size and there is indices. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So the size of this array is 5. And here for each column we have an indices. It's like the address of this column. Now, how to declare an array? The declaration, the syntax of the array declaration, it's like that. We have the data type, the array name, and the size. So we have to give the type of the element inside the array. For example, here we have integer, the array name, the variable's name. That means we have, for example, the name data, and the size we have 100. So in this variable that we call data, we can store 100 numbers of integer type. For example, here float mark of 5. In this variable we have an array with the size of 5, so we can store 5 numbers with type float. This is how to declare the array. Now, for sure, after the declaration of array, we have to use those elements inside the array. So how we access to the element inside the array? It's for sure by using their address, their indices. So here, for example, this element, it's mark of 0. The indices in the array start by 0, not by 1. You have to be careful in this point. So here, this is the mark of 0. The name of this array is mark. We have 5 elements. This is the mark of 0, mark of 1, mark of 2, mark of 3, and mark of 4. So if we want to access to the second element, we have to write mark of 1. If we want to access to the first element, we have to write mark of 0, because indices start by 0. How to initialize an array? So there is two methods. Here, if we know already the size of the array, we have to write int mark, for example, of 5, and we give the element of the array between curly parentheses. So here we have, or curly break. So we have here, for example, 5, the size is 5, and we give here 5 elements. Or we can just leave the size empty, and if we give the element here, we have 5 elements, automatically the size will take the number of the element. So here we have 5 elements. So as a result, we will get this array. So there is two choices. You can give the size of the array, or you cannot give it, because it automatically it will be taken from here. How to change the value in the array of the array? So here we have, for example, our array, mark of 5. We have those elements inside the array. For example, I want to change the third value. So we have here 0, 1, 2. So the indices of the third element, it's 2. So here I will write -1. For example, make the value of the fifth element to 0. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it will be 0. We have 9, we will replace it by 0. So we will write my mark of 4 is equal to 0. Now, it's very important also to use input and output in the array. So here we will take the input from the user and store it in the third element of the array. So we will use for sure scanf. We are taking it from the user, so we have to use scanf %d, and we have the address, not of the variable now, but of the element of the array. So we want to write in the third element, so we have to write the name of the array, and after the position, the indices. Here the third element, so the indices will be 2. So it's scanf %d address mark of 2. So in general, if you want to take an input and store it in the ith element, for example, third element, you have to give the position I minus 1. It's 2. For example, if I want to write in the second element, I have to write marks of 1. Always you have to do minus 1 because the indices start by 0, not by 1. Now, for example, we want to print on the screen the first element, for example. Is it just the normal printf %d? Here we will write mark of 0. Our first element is mark of 0. If you want to print the third element of the array, so printf %d mark of 2. Now we will pass to the exercise and we will apply together what we learned about the array. So let's go to the first exercise. In this exercise, we will write a program to find the average of n numbers using array. So here, what do we have to do? We have to find the average of n number using an array. We have n numbers. We will calculate the average of those numbers. So the first thing, we have to enter the element of the array. We have to create the array, initialize the array, and after calculate the average. So the first thing, we have to ask the user about the size of the array. So we have printf enter, for example, the size of the array. Scanf %d, it's an integer, and we have, for example, we are going to use n variables. So here we have int n. We will take this n from user. After, now we will add the element of the array one by one from user. So we are going to use for sure 4, and we are going to ask the user to enter n elements of the array. So 4 is equal to 0, e less than n, and e plus plus. Here we used ni. So here printf enter the, for example, or let me write enter number and %d e plus 1. We are going just to write enter number 1, number 2, number 3. That's it. That's we did. And here we are going to register the number to memorize it in the array. So here we have to initialize our array. So we have here mark, for example, here let's explain another thing. Int mark of n. Here, why I declared the array here? Because I use the n. Here I want to declare an array of n element. I cannot write it here. I cannot write int mark of n here. Why? Because the n is free here. Okay, we declared it, but we didn't enter the value of n. So here mark of n will be empty, will be 0, because we don't know the value of n. But here, if I will take the n, the value of n, after I will do int mark of n. So if I will enter 5, the size of mark will be 5 here. Automatically the n will be taken from here. So here I will write in the mark of I. Now here, by using this for sorry, we entered all the elements of the array one by one. Now I have my array, I have the element of the array. What I have to do now, I have to look how to calculate the average. So here, instead of using 2 4, we can use just 1 4. Yeah, each time I enter a value, I will add it to the sum, to a variable that we will call sum mark of I. Or you can just use another 4 and calculate the sum and the average. Okay, it's the same, but here it's better. So we have here sum is equal to 0. We declared the value that we used here. Now what we will have, we will just calculate the average. So we have average, it's equal to sum multiplied by the size of the array, it will be n. So here let's come and declare the average as float. Now what do we have to do now? We will just print the value, printf, the average is %f average. So here, to resume again, we ask the user to give the size of the array. We enter the element of the array one by one from the user. Each time the user gives us a value, we will keep it in the array. After, each time the user will enter a value, we will add it to the sum. After the last thing, we will divide the sum by the number of the element in the array or the size of the array. And here we just print the average in the array. Let's execute together and see if we have some problem. So here, enter the size of the array. Let me use 3. The first element it's 1, 1, and 1. So the average it's 1. It's normal. Let me try another example. For example, 5. So we have 10, 25, 63, 2, and 3. So the average is 20. So I hope you understand the basic idea of the array and you understand this exercise. Please, if you have any question or any comment, leave us a comment here, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to be notified for the next video. See you in the next video. Thank you so much.